I'm Jacob Hamilton,
And I'm Hidro Joseph.
and welcome to the Hardwood Huddle, a basketball podcast where we break down the latest news and games in the NBA and basketball world. Hidro, how you doing, man?
Doing good. I'm doing good. I'm happy that it's Friday.
Yeah, right.
How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's been a pretty long week, getting over a little sickness that I had yesterday, but we're getting through it. We're getting through it.
You rolled up to a Phoenix Suns game earlier this week, right?
Yep, I rolled up to two of them actually, and I
You're a
bailed on
diehard.
yeah, and I bailed on the third one today. I did not. I've had enough of watching Suns basketball in person, and I know that kind of sounds crazy, but it's tough to see when your team just loses by at least 15 points regularly, especially at this point in the season where we need to start winning games, and obviously we haven't done that. So
You're a diehard. It's almost like you're a Rockets fan if you're watching this destruction as their lottery odds improve
yeah, right.
with every Phoenix Suns loss.
Yeah, it's. I mean, we talked about it last episode, but it's a joke. It's embarrassing. And if when the lottery happens, I'll make sure to record my reaction because what I think it's now officially at like a 10% chance to convey to number one. Oh no.
Something
I think
like
it's
that.
I think
I
it's
think
something
it's
like that.
I think it's 15% chance or something like that that is top four.
I
So it's
mean,
actually pretty strong.
that's just as terrible, honestly. And the Suns' luck, of course, it would convey one when it's not our pick because we only had one actual number one overall pick in the entire history of our organization, and it turned out to be a bad pick because we passed up on Luka Doncic, but that's all right. That that's all right.
Anthony Bennett. Or yeah, who was it again? It wasn't Anthony Bennett. That was
DeAndre Ayton.
DeAndre Ayton.
Yep, the hometown kid. I wanted Luka, or I wanted the trade away book so we could get another pick so we could take Luka. And I mean, look at where we're at now. DeAndre Ayton's not even on the team, and who knows if Book's going to be on the team next season. So
Tell the audience about the shirt you're wearing
oh
again.
yeah, yeah. So going to the game on what was that?
I
What
think that
day
was
was that?
Thursday,
Was that Thursday or Wednesday?
Wednesday,
Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Wednesday
That's
went
right. That's right.
went to
It
the
was Wednesday.
went to the Suns Thunder game, and we had just lost to the Warriors previously or whatever. But I came up with the big decision to get a white T-shirt and just write on the front trade everyone because it's a joke at this point. And well, let me grab the shirt really quick so I can read the back. Yeah, the back it has Game 7 versus Mavericks, 123-90. That obviously is a loss. Game 6 versus Denver, 125-100 loss, and then swept by Minnesota. That's all in like a 3-year span. So
Mm.
that just yeah, this shirt is terribly dirty now. But yeah, the security guards were enjoying it. Actually, I was kind of worried that they were gonna tell me I couldn't wear it, but they said as long as it doesn't have any profanity on it, we can't stop you. And they appreciated it because everyone feels the same around there. So yep. And I'm pretty sure because we sit across from the Thunder, or well, the opponent's bench, which in this case it was the Thunder. I was taking a picture of Shea just to send it to my friends so I could just show him how much aura he has.
hmm
And Isaiah Hartenstein is looking at me in that photo, so maybe he was acknowledging my shirt. Who knows? That could just be a fantasy thing in my head, but I'll start saying that he acknowledged me. But
Man, we might need to do a whole pod that's just like a postmortem or a gone fishing for Phoenix because there's a lot to talk about. 'Cause
yeah,
I'm pretty sure you've seen some of the tweets that I sent you. I sent to the Hardwood Huddle podcast.
mm-hmm. Yep,
A lot of Suns related stuff that just crosses my timeline. Like I'm not looking for it,
yeah.
but for whatever reason, the algorithm says, "Hey, you're interested in the Phoenix Suns downfall." So here it is in all
I
of
mean,
its
who
glory.
who isn't though, right? Who isn't
Yeah,
interested?
and it's like highest payroll in the league. So if you're gonna trade these guys, the only thing you're gonna get back is the same players that make as much money but are worse.
Yeah,
So, because you can't trade for like to save money from
yeah,
the cap, you just gotta wait till those contracts run out. That's really your only option. If you trade Kevin Durant, for instance, that's $54 million in salary you got to absorb. So
Yep.
somebody's got to like Kevin Durant enough to give you players that are better than Kevin Durant making the same amount of money, multiple players.
Yeah.
And that's not happening. So you're going to end up with worse players on even longer contracts. Kevin Durant's only got one more year.
Yep.
So there's that part. There's no lottery picks. There's no playing tournament. There's no draft to look forward to.
No.
Like what are we doing?
Well, I was proposed this question by one of my buddies who he's pretty much on the same level as me as Suns fandom. He asked me about this trade if I would do it or not. Would you do Kevin Durant for Paul George? And if they get a top four pick in the draft, are you doing that trade yourself? If you were a GM or owner or whatever, are you taking that trade? Because you have to think about it. There's Bradley Beal on your team as well. So you pretty much have like the two worst contracts in all of basketball. And yeah, I don't know. Would you do that?
Paul George has 3 more years left on his 4 year, $212 million contract that he just signed last season,
Yeah.
eh, last off season. You're about to get off a $54 million Kevin Durant cap if you just let him play out next season.
Yeah.
But you're gonna absorb 3 more years of Paul George just to get one draft pick.
To get if their pick conveys to a top four pick. So that was the scenario that was offered to me, and I still said no because we do have Bradley Beal, and that would just be terrible and not fun to watch at all. But yeah,
So
I mean, it's
so
just
what you'll have is Paul George, who's only gonna play half the season at most because he got hurt
yep.
midseason. So he's not like he's gonna be ready to go come training camp or anything like that.
Hmm.
And he's gonna be disgruntled because he did not sign there. So
Yeah.
you'll have that. So you'll have that in the locker room, and you'll have the fourth pick in the draft. Can like who's fourth in your mock draft right now?
One Flag, prop two Harper, uh, three I
Ace
had
Bailey,
VJ Edgecombe, four would be
Ace
the
Bailey,
other kid from
Jeremiah
Rutgers.
Fears,
What's the
that
other
type of
kid from
stuff.
Rutgers' name? I'm trying to think. Oh my god, I'm blanking.
Well,
Oh my.
we got a draft pod that's gonna happen.
Yeah,
No worries about that.
that'll
But it's
happen.
just hypothetically speaking. I don't know if the fourth pick in the draft and 3 years of podcast P. Oh, actually, make that 2.5 years because he's going to spend half the year injured.
Yep,
So presumably insurance covers that. Maybe you save a little money on that end,
true.
but you do that, and then first of all, I don't think Philly does that. Philly's not going to pull the trigger, in
Yeah,
my opinion.
I didn't I don't think they'd ever do that. That's why because when it was first like proposed to me, I guess as in like a fake scenario, I was like, I don't think they'd ever do that, but I'd still say no to that anyway
The,
because
the,
you
re-
could
the
probably get
reason
more
why
value somewhere else.
Yeah, the reason why you got Jared McCain, you got Tyrese Maxey,
Hmm.
and then you have a top four pick in the draft, you build around those three in it,
Yeah,
and with the MVP, if you actually hit on that pick, then you might have something brewing in Philadelphia with Paul George coming back too. So it's almost like you can build for the future and build to contend now. And it's
yeah,
almost like you can play your hand in that scenario. Maybe you give up one of those, you give up a Joel Embiid or something like that in order to save money
yeah,
instead of going the other direction and trying to get Kevin Durant like you're competing for a championship with
yeah,
Kevin Durant, a 38-year-old Kevin Durant and Joel Embiid whenever he comes back. Joel Embiid just had surgery on his left knee, I believe,
yep,
like yesterday. So who
yeah.
knows
It
when he'll be ready to go again. But I'm not
yeah.
sure if you're supposed to be planning for contention if you're the Philadelphia 76ers right this instant. And
Yeah,
I'm not
I
sure
don't
Kevin
think they
Durant gets you
would.
there over like Boston and Cleveland and all of those powers
Yeah.
in the East right now.
Yeah, the Sixers are in an interesting spot themselves. Like they could truthfully go anywhere. I feel like at this point with the pieces that they have, because they do have Maxey, they still have McCain, and they probably will have at least a top 7 pick in the draft, and so they'll probably take someone that they like or whatever. But then, or they could just move off that pick, or and then go all in and with Embiid and those guys and try to pick up at least like another like pivotal role player and a bunch of other picks, just kind of like down the future. Yeah, they're in an interesting spot too. That's a team that's going to be fun to watch for me in the offseason. But the Suns are
They got to
probably
do
the
something because Philly is that's another postmodern team I'd like to do a pod on. Maybe we'll do both Philly and Phoenix.
I mean, if they get the number one overall pick, I don't even know what I'll do. I'd be pretty upset if they if they got the number one pick and then they got flagged. That would that would bother me. That they don't deserve that. After putting together a trash team like this, it's like no, it's like you don't deserve none of that. All
Hmm.
right. Well, the main focus of this show is our awards. I know the season is still not done. I think it ends Sunday, right? Is that the
Sunday.
Sunday? It's Friday, but I, why not give our awards so far? Um, what award did you want to start with? Did you want to start with MVP or do you want to save that for last?
I want to save that for last.
Okay,
Just go with most improved.
all right, let's do it. Do you want to open it up or should I open up?
You got it.
All right. So uh, I want to preface this before. I mean, most improved is such a stupid award because I mean, I think Kyle Anderson like said something about Tyler Hero should win it. No, he shouldn't. He already got like that crazy bag or whatever. Or in like then you have guys like Cade Cunningham who was the number one overall pick. Like I think he's or I don't know if who's actually the odds on favorite to win it right now, but it's definitely not one of those two who I picked for mine. I picked Dyson Daniels. I mean, everything in his game has gone up and since the last 2 years. I have his numbers right here actually. I mean, we know his defensive like skill is through the window. I mean, his first year in the league averaged point 0.7 assist or point 0.7 steals, rounded up to 1. Last year 1.4. Now he's averaging 3 a game on top of 14 points, 2 turnovers, 6 rebounds and 4 assists. And all of his numbers have gone up except his shooting percentages. And that's just because he's taking more shots. I mean, I don't, in my opinion, I don't think there's a doubt that it's not him as most improved, but yeah, for sure, definitely he is my most improved player.
All right. So let me preface this by saying that we did not share our ballots with each other, so I don't
Nope.
know what Jacob has selected for his picks. With
Mm-hmm.
that being said, um, my most improved player would be Dyson Daniels as well.
Yep.
Slightly over who I think made a good case for it at the end there in Ivica Zubac,
Yep.
but Dyson Daniels, for me, it's Atlanta tried to tear it down and be a team that was in the running for Cooper Flag, and that failed because Dyson Daniels evolved
Yeah.
into into one of the premier defenders in this entire league. This is a guy who you already stated his numbers from last season to this season. So a guy who wasn't even talked about or even heard of is now in the running for potentially defensive player of the year,
Yep.
first team all defense, different stuff like that. And he's getting interviews on the ESPN and other sports networks. Uh,
Yep.
I think it's very impressive what he's become in terms of his ability to wreck an offense. So
Yeah.
for me, I think Dyson Daniels really stood out, but narrowly
Yep.
over Ivica Zubac. I think Ivica Zubac, a product of James Harden being in there and developing chemistry with him,
Of course.
but when you have a guard like that, I think we've discussed in previous podcasts how I think a lead guard really helps improve centers beyond what they're normally are capable of.
Hmm.
And so I think that Ivica Zubac numbers, especially on the rebounding end, have been very monstrous this year, and
Yeah.
it showed up in the stat sheets, and it showed up in live play as well. So shout out to him for being for improving his game despite you know everybody talking about Kawhi and James Harden and stuff on his team.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt that Zubac is definitely in the conversation, and I wouldn't be surprised if like he could walk away with the award either. Like, I mean, like though I feel Dyson Daniels and Zubac, I feel like a definition of most improved.
The problem with these awards is that it's media driven. So
Yeah,
it's like whoever opens their mouth to in the media and starts speaking on behalf of some players gets the lead in for the votes. All of a sudden, you get a ballot in front of you, and it's like, I haven't really been paying attention. I've been trying to do a football mock draft, whatever. So,
yeah,
what they saying? Oh, they saying Ivica Zubac. Okay, I'm putting him. Are they putting Kay Cunningham? Because that's what everybody's saying. Kay
yeah,
Cunningham is gonna the number one pick in the draft. What 3 years ago is
yeah.
the
It'd be
most
something
improved
pretty long.
player in 2025. Be like, no, he's supposed to be leading his team
Yeah,
to a top 4 or 5 seed in the conference by now, and I mean, that's what he's supposed to be doing as the number
e-
one pick. If he's
exactly.
injury free, that's exactly what he looks like. I can't even say he's improved. It's almost like saying LeBron James was the most improved player from 2003 to 2004 or whatever.
Yeah,
All of a sudden, oh, he became an Olympian. That doesn't make any sense.
yeah. I
He
mean,
was
like
the
these
number one
guys are
pick. Of course,
supposed to
he
be
was going to
doing this.
get better.
Yeah, that would be like if like Wembenyama like won or like won it in like 3 years. It's like, what are you talking about? Like he's yeah, like I get like he's playing out of his mind, but like he was the number one overall pick. Like there needs to be like I don't know,
I
like these
as
awards are somewhat like interesting to me.
as great as Wemby's numbers look right now, they're gonna look even more incredible in 4 or 5 years.
Yeah,
I'm not giving him the most improved player. That doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. I mean, it's yeah, it's just I just don't get the like number one overall picks winning it. Like a guy who won it in Victor Oladipo like a few years ago. That was some time now, but a guy who didn't really pan out at the start of his career, and he was
Yep.
what the third pick in the draft that
Second,
year, second.
Orlando.
He had been on what drafted to the Magic, traded to OKC, and then traded to Indy. It's like that's a most improved player, even though he was drafted high. He was not like terrible, but he wasn't like what everyone kind of thought he was going to be, especially in that draft class. But yeah, for me, it's definitely Dyson Daniels, and I'm glad that we're on the same page there with that one. Um, Sixth man of the year. Who do you got?
Um, Six man of the year. And that's me trying to make my selection like right this instant. Uh,
If you want, I can
trying
give
to
mine.
think. Yeah, yeah, go ahead. You
All
can
right.
give yours first.
I kind of thought this was like a no brainer. Um, Peyton Pritchard. I mean, Peyton Pritchard is just like he's a firework off the bench for the Celtics. I mean, I have his numbers here pulled up as well. I mean, averaging 13 points with one turnover for like 3.4, so I'll round down there to 3 assists. I mean, he's always a guy like they'll put in at the end of each quarter just because it's like he hits so many half courts and full court shots. I mean, obviously that doesn't really have a big play into six man of the year, but that is something that he does bring to the table. I mean, he shoots 3 for 7. Those are his averages with a 40%. I mean, yeah, for me, it's a no brainer for him. I mean, another guy who I was definitely putting into consideration was DeAndre Hunter. Um, but the winner for me is
I'm
Peyton
not
Pritchard.
sure. I'm not sure if I'd put him because he got traded. Um,
Fair enough.
he got traded to Cleveland.
Yeah,
So
that's
I'm
fair.
not sure.
I get that. That makes sense.
But yeah, I think that Peyton Pritchard is a good choice. I haven't really been following the guys who come off the bench because a lot of them play starters minutes.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to recall who's in the running. Do you actually have like a list of the people who are in the running right now? Because I
I
don't
can
have
pull
that
those
list.
numbers up for you.
But I think that the teams with the deepest benches would obviously be in the running for
Of
something
course.
like that. So you're looking at Cleveland, you're looking at Boston, you're looking at Oklahoma City. Uh,
Um,
those type of teams would have the front runners, in my opinion,
yeah.
unless somebody has
So
like a crazy spark plug that's coming off the bench. If they're coming off the bench that often, obviously I see them as a starter, and it's hard to recall them
yeah,
being a bench player per se.
yeah, and like what you said earlier, it's like these guys play starter minutes. Like it's
Hmm.
like they're subbed in within 5 minutes of the game starting sometimes, and so it's kind of hard. But
Like
this,
I'll give an example. Amen Thompson for the Houston Rockets
yep,
was coming off the bench for maybe 15, 20 games this year. Fred
yeah,
VanVleet gets hurt and he's inserted into the starting lineup
yeah,
in January. The Houston goes on this crazy run where they win pretty much almost all of their games in a whole month. And then
yeah,
Fred VanVleet comes back, gets his spot, but Amen Thompson's still starting. Is he a bench player?
yeah. See,
I
like
don't know
that.
about that. It's kind of it's one of those things where it's like I don't really want to. It's harder to make those type of selections given that these days a six man of the year is getting starter minutes and
Yeah,
starting a lot of the games. It's not like the old days where you have a Greg Popovich putting Manu Ginobili on the bench, even though he should have obviously been starting for.
yeah,
He probably hindered a lot of Ginobili's personal accomplishments that he could have achieved in terms
yeah,
of, he could have been in the running for MVPs and stuff like that.
yeah.
But
Elite player.
yeah, but instead he's getting a bunch of six mans and he was a different player than he was above that, to be honest.
He
But he
was.
he
He
was
was.
set because people had more respect for Greg Popovich. If it was any other coach,
Yep.
he would have been starting. So six man of the year is one of those hard ones. Do you have you got to listen?
Yep. This is from foxsports.com. They're only giving me two because I think that the odds are pretty much weighed pretty heavily. But Peyton Pritchard is at -1,000. And Malik Beasley is at +500 with the second best odds, which that I understand where they come from that, and I totally get it. So he'd probably be either two or three for me, with DeAndre Hunter being in there for to round out the list.
I got you. Yeah. So as you can tell, that was who I was leaning towards, Amen Thompson. But
Yep.
he's a starter now, so
Jesus.
it's almost like the definition changes as the season goes along, and a guy's good enough, they're normally starting for your team. If a
Yep.
guy's really good and he's coming off the bench, that means your team is pretty loaded.
Yeah. All right. Coach of the year. I think it's between just two guys here. Um, I only just put down the name. I didn't really have any notes to it, but I picked Kenny Atkinson, the coach of the Cavs. I mean, leading the team in the East. I think that's even though it's technically weaker than the West, but I still think like having a season like the Cavs are during the regular season is something that is should be awarded. And I feel like it kind of goes to guys like him either way. For my second place vote, if I could pick like how they actually pick, I'm picking JB Bickerstaff of the Pistons. I think he turned it around, but also the Pistons should have done this the last year, but they had Monty Williams as head coach.
You make it sound like that was a bad thing. Monty Williams won the Coach of the Year, like I think the year or so before he came to Detroit.
Yeah, for the Suns, and then he
Yeah,
just started to stink it up. No, I will never forgive Monty Williams for what he did to Detroit last season. I kind of jumped on like the Detroit bandwagon for a little bit, like a while ago, and I'm happy I did because looking at them now, they're getting pretty good. But yeah,
I
Kenny
missed the
Atkinson is my
bandwagon. That's on me. I was like, I don't believe it. No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't support Detroit. I don't think they're gonna do good. And yeah, they're actually way better. And shout out to JB Bickerstaff for that. I think he's the favorite to win it. I
Mhm.
think my pick would also be Kenny Atkinson. I believe we discussed that previously.
I think
But
we did during like maybe it wasn't a show that we actually posted. I think it might have been like our like first dry run, but I remember talking about Coach Atkinson for sure.
the reason behind that, so you look at Oklahoma City Thunder and you point to SGA and the dominant defensive players that they have on their team. So
Yeah,
coach of the year, and we expected Oklahoma City to be where they're at right now. They were
yeah,
number one in the league last year as well. It,
yeah.
I was really impressed with what JJ Redick did
Me as well.
this year. So he would be in the running
Yeah,
with the Lakers. Uh, Teron Lue also another one that should be in the running. I think JB Bickerstaff is going to win it because
yep,
everybody likes the story of there's a team that didn't go anywhere last year and got
mhm.
a top 3 or 4 pick in the draft, and then you have this year they're where they at in the seeds right now.
Sixth, I believe.
This yeah, they're in there in sixth place, comfortably in sixth place,
Yep,
which is above the plane, which is very impressive. 8 games above 500.
yep.
So I think that's impressive. However, most people before the season started had Cleveland barely making the playoffs or not making the playoffs in the Eastern Conference. They
Mhm.
expected more from the uh, Damian Lillard, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Milwaukee Bucks.
Yep.
The Pacers were expected to improve incrementally. Orlando was expected to improve incrementally. Uh, Everybody thought Miami was going to be high and all that stuff, and there was just not a place for Cleveland, despite the fact that they were the 4th seed last year. But
Yeah.
they had to change. They changed their coach over the offseason, and everybody expected, hey, they're going to be no better than where they were last year. Me, I wrote an NBA Eastern Conference predictions article before the season started on BellyUpSports.com, and I picked Cleveland to be second, I believe second in the East.
Yeah.
I believe that New York did what it took to be the number one team in the Eastern Conference. Cleveland would actually be second. I felt like they would improve with Kenny Atkinson as their
Yep.
coach, and I picked Boston to be third place.
Okay.
But as you know, they don't play the games on paper, and
Yeah.
nobody got it right. Cleveland had the number one team in the league for 85 to 90% of the season
Yeah.
by record. I think they only lost 4 games total heading into 2025,
Crazy.
which
Crazy.
is which is crazy impressive.
And
So,
2 15 plus game win streaks, I believe. I'm pretty sure that's close, or maybe one was 16 and one was 14. That could be wrong, but I feel like that happened. I mean, the Cavs were doing some serious work for a while there.
and then guess what? The only thing they got to show for it really is Evan Mobley, who's in contention for Defensive Player of the Year, and Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland as all stars, and that's it. It's
Yeah.
not like anybody's in contention for MVP,
Nope.
uh, this, that, and the other. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
they traded for DeAndre Hunter, so
Yep.
they have him for
And with
depth.
Ty Jerome, like
Yeah,
making his mark on the league this season. I mean,
Correct.
Everything for the Cavs has been clicking so far this regular season. That's why I'm interested to see what happens here in the playoffs because they're a team where I could see not definitely not an 8 seed beating them, but come second round, I mean, I wonder what happens there. That's a team that I'm interested to see what.
Yeah, and I just watched a Cleveland game last night where Kenny Atkinson got tossed
Yep.
out of the game, and the games don't matter for Cleveland. Like they're locked into their seed right now, so
Yeah.
it's not like he has to fight. He got thrown out of the game
Yeah.
complaining about Tristan Thompson, a foul on Tristan Thompson,
Yeah.
as Thompson scored on a bucket, and I think the players loved it, and it's the type of thing that shows up when it matters the most.
Yeah.
When it comes down to, all right, we need a play, and he writes it down and they go execute. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's not what cemented it for me, but
Mhm.
that just helped improve his case. So
Yeah.
that's who I have for Coach of the Year.
Yeah. And there was a reason why people that have been wanting him to be a full-time coach for a while. I mean,
I
I
wanted
mean,
him for the Rockets when the
yeah.
Rockets position was up.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like the Rockets are sitting pretty right now, but I feel like they're
Ime,
kind of
Ime
happy.
Udoka was not expected to be available, so
Yeah. Yeah,
that
no,
that
not
was
at all.
before that. Yeah.
All right. Um defensive player of the year. This is an interesting one to me because I mean, I feel like we know who it would have been if hadn't gotten injured, which is Wembenyama, of course, but it's kind of an interesting race now because Jaren Jackson was slotted at 1, and I'm pretty sure he got hurt again, so he didn't hit the game threshold. But
I need to look that up.
for me, I have I have Evan Mobley. I know that Draymond, I'm pretty sure, is now odds-on favorite to to be it. He's definitely my number 2 guy behind Mobley. Um, and like what you said before, like for I believe I can't remember what award you said it for, but I mean, you open your mouth around the media talking about how good you've been, you're gonna start putting into conversations like that, and especially when Draymond Green does it. He obviously he's won a defensive player of the year in the past, and he's still a defensive changer when he's on the court. But yeah, I give it to Evan Mobley. I mean, he averages 2 blocks a game, one steal a game on the best team in the East by record. So that's
Jaren Jackson has played 73 games this year
then
and
then
started all of them.
I am yeah then yeah I didn't have I mean he then he's probably my number 3, I'd have to say. But yeah, Mobley for me is I hope he walks away with it, or if that's who I think would walk away with the award.
All right. We are different in this one.
Okay.
Uh, I see your Evan Mobley. I raise you Amen Thompson from the Rockets,
Okay.
which has finally started getting some traction for Defensive Player of the Year. There've already
Yeah.
been some pundits that have ballots that have said that they voted him as their number one,
Okay.
and a lot of them got Evan Mobley as number two on their ballots too. By the way, so it's not like you're far off. But
Yeah.
Amen Thompson, he, we can start with one of the most recent games he played, like Steph Curry, who a
Yep.
lot of people have as like a dark horse All NBA and down the ballot MVP candidate
Hmm.
for the way Golden State has played this year. But Steph Curry had 3 points with Amen Thompson
He did.
guarding
He
him.
really did.
Three points. All NBA, like future Hall of Famer, greatest
Yeah.
shooter of all time, Steph Curry,
Yeah.
with the full complement of players with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, the whole nine, and they could not get Amen Thompson off of him. If you saw the highlights, he was in a straitjacket and could not score for the life of him. The only points came from a last second shot right before halftime,
Yeah.
like near half court or whatever, and those were his only points for the entire game. No free throws. He's
Yeah.
not even
See,
getting any free throws against them. A lot of people want to sleep on the Rockets' chances in the playoffs, if but they don't watch defense. And I feel like Amen Thompson has game changed
yeah.
uh, the Rockets on the defensive end. Him starting and being on everybody's best player instead of coming off of the bench
Yeah.
changes how you attack a Rockets team. All
Yeah.
of a sudden, if they see the Lakers in the second round, then you're going to depend a lot on LeBron because Luka's going to be in a vice
Yeah.
the entire 7 game series. Same thing with Shea Gilgeous Alexander, who Amen Thompson guarded recently. The MVP frontrunner was locked up against Amen Thompson. He only scored 22 points, and they lost. Like I believe the Thunder have lost twice to the Rockets this season.
I believe so.
The Rockets have beaten every top team in the league,
Yeah.
and I think most of them at least twice. They beat Cleveland twice. They beat OKC twice. They beat Boston. And a lot of that has to do with Amen Thompson locking those guys up. That's why I have Amen Thompson as my defensive
Yep.
player of the year.
Yep. And I get where you're coming from. That for some reason in my head that kind of didn't really I wasn't really thinking of a men for sure, but yeah, I mean, definitely huge on the defensive side of the ball. A lot different than having Fred VanVleet start the game and then having him guard Steph Curry, of course. But yeah, I mean, definitely up there, and definitely I feel he will win one. I think he's
We'll
definitely.
see. Wemby's going to have to miss games
That's true.
in
Yeah,
another
no, he.
season.
I'm sorry, but he's not going to win any. I forgot about Wemby. I mean, it's just it's
This is
over.
this is one of those seasons where you're glad that Wemby's gone, and
Yep.
just to unlock the Defensive Player of the Year award for 1 year. But
Yeah.
it's locked up every time he hits 65 games. That's a
Yeah.
promise.
Yeah. I mean, I think people were like Wemby depoy like from the second game of this season. Like, I mean, he's unbelievable. But we know that.
I need to watch him in person, by the way. Have you seen him yet? I have
Um,
not.
I'm trying to remember if I have. Um, I don't. Maybe I have. I didn't see him play his rookie year because we had. I remember which he like I was gone for the because we played them back to back nights. I wasn't there for that, but I can't remember if I've seen him or not. I'd have to go back through like my photos because I always take pictures of the best players, of course, obviously, but and so I'd have to double check on that. But I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have. But for
I was so determined to watch Kawhi Leonard finally play after every
yeah,
time I buy a Clippers ticket, he's always out,
uh-huh.
that I failed to remember to watch Wemby before he got injured. So I have to wait till next year.
And hopefully he stays healthy because Kawhi Leonard is one of my favorites, like current player, favorite current players, and it just sucks to see him get hurt all the time.
Oh, he
Um,
was good in person too when I saw him earlier this year. Oh, he
oh
was
yeah,
good. I,
yeah. I
I,
mean,
I was worried that he was going to be kind of so average. So I was like, if he doesn't play, I'll get to see James Harden play.
yeah,
Uh,
that's not a bad trade off.
yeah, not a bad trade, especially in Houston. Enjoy
Yeah.
watching James Harden play, but
Does he get
Kawhi played
cheered?
that game.
Do they? Do
Oh,
they?
absolutely.
I'd assume so, but
He's
I
got a
didn't know if
restaurant in
they.
downtown too, so
Oh, hmm,
he's still
that's
Houston.
interesting.
This is his home now.
All right, rookie of the year. We'll save MVP for last. Who do you have for your rookie of the year?
Uh, so Rookie of the Year has been kind of funny because every time somebody seems like they're in the lead,
Yeah,
they get hurt or fall off, and the draft this year kind of reflected how the Rookie of the Year award was going to play out in terms
yeah,
of nobody knew it was going to be number one. If you're drafting for need, uh, is that guy going to get minutes if your team is contending? Because
yep,
some good teams moved up in the draft. Like Atlanta got the number one pick, even though they had a low percentage
hmm,
chance to win it. Houston got ended up with the third pick in the draft, even
yep,
though their team was a 500 team. Is because they had a switch with Brooklyn
Yep.
for their pick. So Reed Shepard, who supposedly is the best shooter in the draft, didn't get much minutes
Yeah.
because he was on a contending team, as opposed to if he was on Brooklyn, I guess he would have just lit it up for 30 minutes a night and see
He
what he
probably
can
would
do.
have.
You had an underrated player in Jared McCain out of Duke,
Yep.
who was uh, basically making up for the lost Paul George and Joel Embiid minutes
Yep.
with Philadelphia, and they were above water, like treading water with him,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, okay, so he's a front runner
Yep.
until he got hurt
He got
and
hurt.
was out for the season. You got Jalen Wells from Memphis Grizzlies, who was talked about for a while. He
He
got
was
hurt.
hooping. He was hooping
Oh,
too.
he was hooping too. Then you got Khalil Ware from
Yep.
Miami Heat, who didn't get to start until you know dang near the end of the season, and he's
Yeah.
been putting up good numbers, but hasn't played enough for me in order for me to say he would be a rookie of the year or even like he's barely all rookie first team in my
Yeah.
opinion just because of the amount of time he has had to play. So
Yeah.
for me, it's basically who's been available to play.
Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much.
Um, I really loved Ricochet
Yep.
from Atlanta. Uh, he's been solid this year. He's been
Yeah.
able to play all year. He was the number one pick in the draft, so you would expect the number one pick in the draft to, you would hope, come in averaging 18 to 20 points a game, maybe
Yeah.
even more than that. But again, he's on a team that didn't necessarily need him off the rip because it was Atlanta. They kind of had already had veterans in place and stuff like that, so he
Yeah.
had time to kind of warm into the league. And then recently he dropped 38 points against the
Yeah.
Nets
Against the
this
Nets. Yeah.
week.
That was a fun game to watch too.
So he proved that he deserved Rookie of the Year, if not for the fact that I think Stephon Castle was
Yeah.
just more consistent this year. Play was in the dunk contest.
Yep.
Uh, Turned it up with better point scoring, assist, and rebounds when Victor Wembanyama went down. And so I have Stephon Castle as my Rookie of the Year.
So do
San
I.
Antonio Spurs.
Yep. I thought Ricochet, he was definitely in the conversation for me. I kind of had Castle picked pretty early as my rookie of the year, just because in the sense of like Sar wasn't playing too hot to kind of start the year.
Yep,
Ricochet was getting weird minutes because they didn't know really what like. It's weird to like because they didn't expect to get the number one pick, obviously,
correct.
so they weren't expecting to give a number one pick minutes to this guy in a weaker class, but still number one overall pick. But yeah, I mean, the other night when he had 38, was it? I mean, it definitely helped him jump up in my leaderboard a little bit. But Castle for me has definitely got it. I mean, at the start of the season being like the third or the fourth option on that Spurs team to pretty much now being the number one option, right? I mean, Wemby went down. They picked up Fox, of course. Fox went out with an injury that he was actually has had for a while now. After Wemby went out, they have Chris Paul, who that's a big one for Castle too. I believe that having
Hmm.
Chris Paul, and especially gives him time to like actually work with him instead of Chris Paul trying to work with Fox and trying to work with Wemby. It's like, all right, now I can focus on Castle and make him the player that he can be, and I think that he will be. I mean, his 3 point shooting percentage, I have his stats pulled up right here. He's shooting 28% from three, which is horrendous, but he's 20 years old, right? He won a national championship at UConn last year. I mean, he's got a bunch of time to develop, but and he murders the rim every time he dunks the ball. Like it's so fun to watch. Like I will still turn on Spurs games just to watch him play. And yeah, definitely Castle for my rookie of the year.
So I'm unopposed to like a co-rookie of the year, but
Yeah,
in this scenario, I just don't feel like we should be rewarding Ricochet for play now when I feel like it's more of a whole season type of thing.
it is.
So
Yeah. And
Ricochet was only averaging probably 6, 8 points a game and not shooting the ball very well and all this stuff. Like most of the rookies this season,
yeah,
Sar started off really poorly and has come on strong.
yeah,
So
he
you
has.
got a lot of contenders for the all rookie team who are good now, but in terms of just the overall season from October to April,
Yeah. And
that's
especially
the
compared to last year. I mean, that rookie of the year race, I mean, it was pretty locked up early. I feel like not early, but it was Wemby Chet, right? Like who's going to be the rookie of the year? But in everyone's mind, it's going to be Wemby. I mean, he just played better, right? But and it's like like comparing it to this year, it's like damn, like we really don't got too much going on. And then the second half of the season came by, and everyone started to play a little bit better. And yeah, it sucks that Jalen Wells kind of stopped playing as good, and obviously he got hurt almost badly the other night, but only broken wrist and a concussion and like a cut on the side of his
a
face.
contusion.
But
Yeah,
yeah, I expect these rookies to be around for a while. I think they'll definitely have some big moments in the league for sure.
Jalen Wells was going to be my sleeper pick, man.
Yeah, yeah. No, I agree. I mean, who like I mean, who would have thought really? I mean, unless
Hmm.
like you are a Jalen Wells guy, but like I wasn't really. Like I'm not into like college basketball, so I don't even know. Like I don't even know until like I start doing my draft research and all that. All right, this is the one, um, the big one, obviously the MVP. Uh, do you want? I feel like we might have the same guy here. Um, but do you want to open it?
All right, I'll open it. The MVP of the league, voted by the media. We'll
Hmm.
start there.
Yeah,
So these types of things have a tendency to bring bias as a when it comes to voting because once you vote for somebody, once it's a great honor for them and they get to tell their families and it makes them a lot of money
yep,
on their next contract, this, that, and the other. And it's a big deal. But once you vote for them again, all of a sudden they reach a different level of respect. When
yeah,
Steve Nash won his second MVP, for instance, all of a
mhm.
sudden he went from a really good all star to where is he on the greatest point guards of all time type of
Like
thing.
yeah. I mean, and he's up there for sure. I mean, no
Yeah,
doubt. And
yeah, and
but
it's
people have those conversations like he took one of Kobe's MVPs, right? And I totally see where they're coming from with that, but yeah, I get what you're saying there.
yeah. So in that instance, that once you start voting for guys enough times, the media starts giving pause to, hey, how many MVPs are we giving a guy?
Yeah,
And
right.
so once he starts getting to two, three, and four, now he's in the same conversations with LeBron James and uh, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and a lot of the greatest players of all time.
Yep.
So they hesitate. All of a sudden, they start looking for storylines in the season to kind of crown somebody as the MVP.
Yeah.
And in this instance, the storyline is Shea Gilgeous-Alexander
Yep.
and their team, the Oklahoma City Thunder, running away with the number one record in the entire league.
Hmm.
So that's where the narrative's at. Um, it really depends on your point of view in terms of MVP. I do
Yeah.
have an MVP criteria article that's on bellyupsports.com if you look that up. And it kind of gives you a baseline for what the criteria should be,
Yeah.
and then gives you a pick for MVP for that season. In this season, I feel like I'm not necessarily a storyline guy, I'm
Hmm.
more of a numbers guy, and I guess it just depends on the season
Yeah.
where you think the numbers matter. Because in one instance, the numbers matter, and one guy averages a triple double for the season, and it's like, hey, let's give Russell Westbrook the MVP.
Yep.
But then he goes on to average a triple double like two or three of the next four
I think he had
seasons.
like four straight at one point, right?
Yeah, like
Yeah. I mean,
four out of 5 years
yeah.
where he averages a triple double, and guess what? He goes from MVP to not even in the top 10, 15 picks for
Yeah.
MVP. Like not even on the ballot.
But
So
Russ, that season that he won MVP, Dwayne Wade said it, and I see this clip all the time on these TikTok edits that I watch about Russ, because Russ is the player that truly got me into basketball, um, like as much as I am now. Russ was the best player on the planet on both sides of the ball that year. I feel like for at least a little bit of that season. I know it kind of got into conversation on who it should have been at the end of the year, but yeah, I mean, I gotta give Russ his flowers, especially for me at least.
yeah, I mean, if we want to go back in time and stuff, I would say James Harden's December might have been the greatest month I've ever seen,
That is
ever,
true. That is
including
true.
watching Michael Jordan play, where he was getting 60-point triple doubles and
Yep,
that type of play, and he was the only one. It felt like he was the only one playing for the Rockets at that time.
that's true.
So
That's true.
it was like him and I think Dwight Howard's on the team still, but
I think so. Yeah.
that was that was some of the most insane basketball I've seen from a couple of individual players. Russell
Yeah.
Westbrook being one of them. I really love Russell Westbrook too. Don't get me wrong. However, in this 2025, I am going with Nikola Jokic,
Hmm.
and there's a lot of reasons why I think Nikola Jokic should be the MVP.
Yeah.
There's a lot of turmoil going on in Denver, by the way, which we'll discuss a little bit later.
Yeah.
But Nikola Jokic numbers, despite the fact that he's already won three MVPs, they still get better after every
Exactly.
season. It's not like these seasons are. It's not like he's staying the same player. It's almost like he's still evolving, despite the fact it looks like he doesn't do anything in the off season, but
Yeah.
play with his horse racing and stuff.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really crazy. Like for instance, you take Shea Gilgeous-Alexander off of the Thunder right now. Guess what? There's still going to be a top 7, 8 defensive team. They're going to be in the top half of the Western Conference, despite how loaded the Western Conference is and how tough it is to even make the play in the
Yeah.
Western Conference, as the Suns will attest. So that leaves you that leaves you with what would happen if you took Nikola Jokic off of the Denver Nuggets? We saw
Yeah.
that when he sat out a game and Russell Westbrook led the team with 30 points, 7 assists, all that stuff. The Jamal Murray hurt like he usually is, which is why he's never been an All Star.
Yep.
And even though Russell Westbrook scored all them points, they lose by a whole bunch of points. You got the coach getting fired, you got the GM getting fired over there.
Yeah.
Without Nikola Jokic, what is there to uh, look at in Denver? Michael Porter Jr. No.
No.
Uh, I like Christian Brown personally. I think he's playing a whole lot better.
Yeah.
But without Nikola Jokic, I'm not sure if that team is. I'm not sure if that team is an NBA team necessarily.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
So
It.
for this season, despite the fact he'll that'll match him with number of MVPs with LeBron James and put him on another level. Like so, we're talking Jokic, Will Chamberlain,
Yeah.
Bill Russell. That's the list in terms of most dominant centers. And
Yeah.
despite the fact that his defense is not good, uh,
No.
especially his help defense. If you make the right pass, you're getting wide open blowbys off of Nikola Jokic.
Yeah.
But his
Pick and
offense is just
rolls.
so
Like it's.
otherworldly that I'm going to give it to Nikola Jokic this year.
Yep. Um. Yeah. So so this was tough for me as I was kind of making the list in my head. I still didn't have it uh like decided on who my MVP was, but I was this is how I went about it. I'll it's like a little storyline here. Um I knew that we were going to talk about this on today's show, and I was like, you know what? I was like, let's do like the actual research here. Let's look at advanced stats and let's go watch highlights, like the eye test, right? And so I started with Jokic, and the NBA had put out a YouTube video, like an hour-long highlight of his season of this season, like a month ago. And I thought I was gonna watch about 10 minutes of it, and I watched the whole hour. Like and I didn't, and I know this is very I'm in school for journalism and I need to see both sides of the story. They always tell me every time, but I didn't even go ahead and look at Shea's highlights. And that's not a diss on Shea, because I think if Nikola Jokic wasn't a basketball player, Shea would probably win 3 straight MVPs, like counting this year and 2 the following. But yeah, Jokic is my MVP. I think, like what you said, you take him off the team. What's next, right? Like where do they go? Like what you said, are they even a basketball team at that point? And he builds guys' careers almost like just with the dunker spot. Jeez, come on! I have the Lakers game on here, and they're like flashing it. Uh, yeah, I mean, turned around Aaron Gordon's career in a sense, right? I mean, he was good. He was good. Don't get me wrong, but Jokic made him way better, especially with the dunker spot. Jokic knows where he's at on the court at all times. At all times. Same with Michael Porter Jr. Um, and I mean, he's doing it with no All Star teammates, which that will kind of flow into talking about Coach Malone. But yeah, I have some advanced stats pulled up here. I mean, Jokic's win share, estimated wins so far this season is 19.3. Shea does take the number one spot with 21.1. Um, but still, I mean, that's only Shea's only in the lead of that because they've won more games, right? But I mean, yeah, Jokic is the MVP. You can't do what he's doing and not win it. And I think it's about time we start having that conversation of Jokic maybe being the best, one of the best centers we've seen in today's game. I feel like it kind of was a little clouded there for a little bit because no one really wanted to talk about that. But definitely my MVP for sure, my MVP, and no doubt. You know,
he is a little bit kind of Wilt Chamberlain-esque in terms of today's game.
yeah,
Um, he wows you with the numbers. I think he had like a 30-20 game or something like that.
he
Thirty
did.
twenty triple double or something. It it's pretty amazing to see that coming from a guy his size,
Yep.
and the fact that he's already won MVP. Let's put it this way: if he hasn't won an MVP before, nobody would even mention Shea Gilgeous-Alexander. Even though
Yeah.
Shea leads the league in points, Shea doesn't have to play. Didn't have to play a lot of fourth quarters this season because the team has just been so dominant. When he
Yep.
does play in the fourth quarter, I believe he leads all players in fourth quarter points or clutch points or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's really hard to stop individually. I've seen Amen Thompson do it, but that's a rare breed.
Yep.
Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is having a very brilliant season.
Yeah.
I
And
watched the Oklahoma City Thunder play in person,
yeah.
so I got a firsthand look at how dominant he can look. But and I'm not gonna say that he gets a lot of free, like a lot of people on the internet say that he gets a lot of free throws and all that stuff. And he's a free throw merchant, and he hunts for those calls. And
Mhm.
everybody does that in the NBA,
Exactly.
so I don't
Exactly.
put that against them.
Nope.
But me just watching in person, the the eye test for me showed me that although he's a really good player, I've seen that before, and
Yeah.
I've seen that not win the MVP before on the team that had the best record in the league, by the way, multiple times. LeBron James led teams have not
Yep.
won, have not had an MVP winner James Harden led teams have not had an MVP winner,
Yep.
and they were just as dominant uh, in terms of their play.
Yeah.
So it's it's not the wins for me because I just think with all of the picks they've had and the brilliant coaching that's going on down there in Oklahoma, that it's almost like if you could give an MVP to a team, Oklahoma City, and I don't even think twice about it. Like
Yeah. No
if we're
doubt.
giving an MVP to a team, you give it to their whole team because the ex- oh, we're gonna talk about executive of the year, is that right? Or no?
Yeah. Yep.
All
I
right.
got my pick.
So I mean, they got Isaiah Hartenstein for free,
Yeah.
almost from New York.
Yep.
Alex Caruso, and like uh, they had a lottery pick this past season in Nikola Topic, and he hasn't even played all year
Yeah.
because of an ACL injury. So they're gonna have like a 6'9" point guard, uh, a veteran point guard because he's played internationally
Yeah.
and he's got some years on him. So he's not gonna come in and play like a rookie. And that guy's gonna has had time to watch SGA play all year, so he's gonna be his backup next season, and Oklahoma's going to be just as dominant. So it feels like the media is trying to give SGA this MVP this year.
Yeah.
SGA is going to play way better next year because the team's going to be even better next
Yeah.
year. They're going to
Yeah.
be just as dominant, and what y'all going to be afraid to give him the MVP when the numbers look the same or better
Yeah.
because the media, they get tired of voting for the same person. I
Right.
personally don't get tired. I just look at the seasons individually, and the number of MVPs is the number of MVPs.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it. I would love to say, oh, Cleveland had the best record for 90% of the year. Let's give it to Donovan Mitchell, and that just wouldn't be a cute thing to do. So,
Yeah, that wouldn't yeah, that just wouldn't make sense. And obviously Shea and Donovan Mitchell are on like completely different levels. Like obviously. It
mhm,
and and me picking Jokic has nothing against Shea, but like you said, it's like you don't really get tired of it. I understand how like voter fatigue is a thing. Like I understand that, but it's like then like why? Like why is it a thing at the end of the day? Because it's like, but then you go back and say, well, it's like why didn't LeBron win like six straight when he was taking all those teams to the finals, right? So it's hard,
exactly.
but yeah, I'm giving mine to Jokic. It's hard to like not give it to him for me, in my opinion. He passes the eye test. He's fun to watch. Like
Yes,
in my opinion, like I had three of my buddies once told me that they don't like watching Jokic, and I kind of stopped talking to them about basketball as much after they said that because I was like, y'all are just crazy. I was like, like what's boring about a 7'1" guy just like dropping triple doubles everywhere? Like that's just the best.
I've seen him in person probably like 5 or 6 times,
Yeah.
and before he was MVP, after.
Yep.
I saw it before it began. I I just knew as soon as he had a 3-point shot, I don't know what you can do with him. It was
Yeah.
literally nothing you could do. He was getting all of his teammates were playing way better when he was on
Yeah.
the court. This, that, and the other. So yeah, looks like we're on the same page for most of these.
Yeah. Which I don't think like I know in my opinion I don't feel like I picked any super dark horses to like win the award because like no dark horse at the end of it. Like you're not going to see like a surprise defensive player of the year. Like it's one of the top three guys. Like that's going to win it, and everyone knows that. So yeah, and thank God we're on the same page. And I wanted to kind of hear a crazy take, but I'm happy I didn't at the same time. So um yeah, Mike Malone earlier in this week got fired from the Nuggets, and so did what's their I can't remember their general manager's name. Forgive me,
Calvin
but
Booth,
yep. Sorry, we have one more award. Executive of the year. Executive of the year.
yes,
My apologies. Go ahead. Who's your executive of the year?
man, I really thought that New York was gonna win it.
Hmm.
Um, I still might lean New York. I think I might lean New York
Okay.
just
Yeah.
because, uh, you know, they went all in this year,
Yep.
feeling like they could go all the way. And so they ended up with a surprise trade to pick up Carl Anthony Towns
Yep.
right before the season. I thought that was a very impressive pickup. And, they put all their eggs in the basket, in the Mikal Bridges basket
Yep.
and traded for him. So
Six first
now you
round
got,
picks.
yeah,
Just
so you got,
insane.
so you got Mikal Bridges who doesn't miss games.
Nope.
You have Carl Anthony Towns, Jalen Brunson, uh, the Josh Harts. Just you got a you got a solid team there, run by a coach which I wish they probably should have a different head coach, and I think that might be what's held them back. Maybe that and some injuries,
Yep.
but New York, I believe, is third in the East right now,
Yes.
and I had them before the season as number one,
Understandably.
thinking that those type of pieces they picked up would put them over the top. So I'm gonna go with the executive in New York. I actually don't know who that is, but
Yeah.
I'm going with the GM over there.
Yeah. I it it might be Nico Harrison, but that's a sleeper pick in my opinion. But no, I like the New York pick. That makes sense. And like Hidra, I don't know any of the executive names really. Uh, because
You
that's
could just
like
go team.
yeah, I'll just go team. You know, it might the Thunder. I'll give it to the Thunder. They did trade away Josh Giddey as well, but that trade ended up looking good for both sides of the table for Chicago as well. Josh Giddey's been playing pretty well. I think he had a triple double the other night, but he does that pretty regularly. He hit a half court shot to beat the Lakers. Are they playing right now? They are not, or they won today. I can tell you his exact stats. He did not play though.
You talking
So
about the Bulls?
yeah, the Bulls.
Oh, a
So
lot of people are in and out of the lineups these last couple games of the
yeah,
season because some
yeah,
of them don't matter to some teams and some of them they got everything to play for and
yeah.
it
Um,
shows.
but yeah, I'm gonna give it to the Thunder. For me, it's kind of hard not to in a sense. Uh, and obviously they've had crazier off seasons, you could say, before, but it's hard not to when you pick up Hartenstein and to add with Shea, who is more than likely probably going to be the MVP because the media votes on it and they have voter fatigue. But yeah, I'd give it to the Thunder. I'd give it to the Thunder. They picked up Alex Caruso, who's a big part for that team as well, and so I'm giving it to the Thunder there.
Sam Presti is
Sam
the
Presti.
GM over there. So that one I knew off the top of my head. Gerson Rosas is the general manager for New York, and I probably should have known that because he used to be in the Rockets organization
Oh,
prior to moving to New York. I didn't know where he went, but there he goes. Go over there and kind of bring the same kind of Maury ball over to the Knicks where they start moving
yeah,
around things and making big splash moves in hopes of bringing a contender. So we'll see what New York's going to do this year, but
yeah.
I'm
Definitely an
I'm curious.
interesting
I'm
team.
curious to see.
All right, now Mike Malone. Yeah, fired. What was that? I believe Monday. Was that Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday, I think. Tuesday. Um, and out of the blue, for as a person who's not really in Nuggets Twitter, I don't really know how I would even get in there in the first place since I'm on Suns Twitter. But yeah, definitely random. I was driving and I got the notification, and I only have Twitter notifications from Shams and Chris Haynes, the Haynes briefs. But yeah, I was completely blown away. Um, like I texted Hedro, I'll say what I actually said, word for word. What did I say?
You said texted Hidro. You texted me.
Yeah. Uh, I said I get they're not playing to standards, but this close to playoffs is very interesting, and unless I'm missing a huge piece to this puzzle, yeah, it confused the hell out of me, honestly. The Nuggets weren't playing up to standards, but like, what are the standards when you don't put enough pieces around Jokic, right? I mean, he won a championship, but he did have to play an 8 seed in the finals. So, but an 8 seed that did beat a bunch of good teams. Don't I want to make sure that's clear. But still, I mean, I think the Nuggets were never going to win the championship this season, in my opinion. But it still was a very random. I thought it was going to be like an end of the playoffs fire for sure, or maybe give them one more year to build around and see what could go down. But yeah, very confusing on my end.
Mike Malone got fired, tied for the latest firing in the NBA season with
Yep.
Hubie Brown, who got fired, I think, like in the 80s uh, from one of his previous jobs. Everybody knows him as an announcer now, but he used to be a
Yeah.
coach. With 3 games left in the season, so
Yeah.
interesting that you would make a move then instead of waiting until the season is over.
Yeah.
So media likes to call around the surrounding Nuggets organization to see if they can get bits and nuggets, no pun intended, of
Yeah.
what's going on behind the scenes. And you start to hear stories that come out that simply may or may not be true. But
Yeah.
the consensus is there was a lot of rift between the GM Calvin Booth and Mike Malone in terms of who they were going to play. Like
Mhm.
I guess the GM felt that Mike Malone was playing Russell Westbrook way too much, but Mike Malone was seeing results from Russell Westbrook too. So,
Yeah.
in my opinion, I thought he must have been doing a masterful job in order to get something out of Russell Westbrook. In which case, his previous 2 stops in like his hometown and stuff, they did not work out for him
Yeah.
in LA. So that
Yeah.
ended up. So for me, I feel like the true story won't pan out until after the season is over. They
Yep.
asked they asked most people said that Nikola Jokic must have had a hand in the firing, and he told everybody that he was given notice that the decision was made
Hmm.
a little bit before everybody else,
Yeah.
but it wasn't him to make a decision, yeah or nay. It was just, hey, we're giving you notice that your coach is gone
Yeah.
today, and you'll hear about it in a little bit. But so it wasn't Jokic that said he was frustrated with Malone. Um, if it's a Russell Westbrook issue, I don't know. He's a minimum salary player.
Yeah.
If you're the GM, cut him if you don't like him and you're
Yeah.
tired of the coach playing him. So
Yeah.
I I feel like that's false too. So I feel like the true story will play out in the off season. I'm still waiting to hear what I feel like makes the most sense
Yes.
before
Yeah.
I
No.
call
I.
that
I.
as
Oh,
factual.
and well, my apologies. A phone call decided to pop up on my computer. Um. Yeah. No. Very random. And I'm interested to see like how this makes Jokic feel. Like what if like because for in my head it kind of felt like Jokic had to have been saying something to somebody, but like to not get him fired before, right? That in my head, because you always talk to your best player, and but then like what you just said, like Jokic had no idea. Oh my goodness, I am getting spammed with phone calls. I don't understand. Um, yeah, no, yeah, I'm interested to see what happens with Jokic. Like what if Jokic is a Laker? like like what if he turns into a Laker at this point? Yeah, I'm interested to see.
I
And
immediately checked his contract. He's got 2 more years after this season, so he'll be eligible for an extension this summer, I believe. Who's going to run that extension? Who knows? Because there's no GM.
yeah,
Will he want to stay? Who knows? Because there's only an interim coach in place, David Adelman, son of former Sacramento Kings coach Rick Adelman.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
And I mean, like, what did they tell the locker room that was reportedly that came out? It was like, play hard and have fun. Like, the
oh
Russell
yeah,
Westbrook way, like he said in the Lakers locker room that got him kicked off that team, no doubt. But yeah, definitely a weird week around the league. I feel like in a sense, like I mean, not anything for like crazy like standings wise, but I mean we've had two coaches fired pretty early or pretty late when with Taylor Jenkins as well.
Memphis Grizzlies. Yep.
Yes. All right. That was a great episode. Hidra, where can they find you?
They can find me at the Hero Joe, THAHEROJOE, on X and Instagram. You can also find my articles on bellyupsports.com. And you, Jacob.
You can find me on Twitter at Hammy2004, HAMIE, not how you think it would be spelled. And then you can find the Hardwood Huddle on Twitter at Hardwood Huddle. And thank you to Belly Up Sports once again. Hidro, have a nice night.
All right, you too.